Welcome to the Nerd Party.
I'm Darren Moser.
I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
And this is City Alpha 3. Hello, everyone, and welcome to City Alpha 3, a Star Trek podcast here on the Nerd Party Network. I am Darren, and joined, as always, in this 200-plus episode show, I'm joined with Daniel and Philip. Gentlemen, how has it been? We took a little bit of a break last week, but now we're back in it. We've been talking a lot about Daniel watching Survivors. Is that like a thing now? Do we need to make shirts? Was that just a one-time
great
thing?
Powerful
Daniel?
Kevin, tweet along.
Oh, the great and powerful Kevin. Long may he reign in his wisdom.
Yeah, I watched one episode and it turned into a thing, kind of. But yeah, it was good.
That's how Star Trek works.
It's a great episode too. So I mean, just go watch it if you haven't watched it in a while. Just go watch it because it's a solid 45 minutes of television entertainment. You're not going to be frustrated or confused. You'll laugh.
There's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a
works
conclusion.
Out really well. It doesn't actually really work out that well, I would say that. And it certainly has its problems. So, but no, but it is a very good episode for sure.
And that was season
3.
2?
It was later.
3. Okay. I was gonna say I couldn't remember. Discovery's like thrown my how many seasons out of whack because it feels like it's been like 20 seasons and it's been 3. So it's like so much has happened in those 3 seasons. And you've been promoting within the ranks, Philip, I hear, over in the land of Starfleet.
I've taken command of my Star Trek fan group. So I'm
in a Michael-esque fashion. Is that what you're saying?
Did you force them to build a small ceremonial tea palette right in front of your captain's chair, or are you just going to trip over that thing?
I found there's like a nub on the side of the chair, which I'd never noticed before, but anyway.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah, I have been doing captainy stuff lately. My mother-in-law, I don't know what her source is, but she's been getting me Star Trek stuff at thrift stores. And so she got me like a boatload of action figures, and for whatever reason, they were mostly no, I'm trying to think of the episode, which all good things. Sorry, I don't know why that came out of my head. They're all good things. I have like old Picard, at the winery,
Winefield, Geordi,
and then also Generations. So it's basically those are like all these figures are the Generations. So I have like, I know this is an audio podcast, but like I have like Worf and Geordi in sort of like those uniforms they never used. So like I guess for Darren and Daniel here, they'll see this is like the Worf figure here, where he has his rank up there. He's not even wearing his Baldric. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. So
Baldric, yeah. Wow, that's
So
wait, what is so that's from the movie? Because they didn't have their ranks like that. Is that the
proposed uniform, which they ended up using? They actually made the figures before they did the movie.
Rookie mistake. Never make the figures before the movie.
No, because of course, we all remember in Generations, everyone was using everyone else's uniforms. Like, what was it? Riker was using Avery Brooks's uniform.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the transition from the TV show to the movies was not smooth, and I think they were working on all of that costuming stuff for a long, long time. So it's not surprised. It's kind of cool.
Because like you look at Geordi and you can tell like that is not tailored to that man. Like it does not fit him. It's probably what O'Brien's or something.
Probably, yeah. Well, at least they were old buds. So
yeah,
it's not like you're wearing a stranger's clothes, I guess.
Which I think is for the best, because I know some people kind of make fun of like all the uniform differences in Generations, but whatever, I can go with it. Because we get such, in my opinion, good uniforms in First Contact. I'm willing.
Did they betray their uniform, Philip?
That's why they got rid of it and I got a new one. So
it's like the motion picture. It's like the first movie has to have these weird transitional costumes, and then the second movie, they're like, boom, this is the new hotness. So we had the Monster Maroon, and then we had like the First Contact.
Now, speaking of action figure motion picture, I've never, it's not my favorite as far as the uniforms. I suppose this movie as well. But anyway, I was at my used bookstore, and I did do an impulse buy at my used bookstore that they did have action figures when I was checking out, and I saw the motion picture Admiral Kirk, and I'm like, look, it's only however much it was. I'm like,
Admiral Kirk.
So I now have the life support Admiral Kirk uniform, belt.
Oh. Okay, so this is the one from the motion picture, like the all white look.
It's the blue and white, so it's not because he had a few that he wore, but it's sort of like the blue and then the white in the middle. So yeah.
I'm sure you'll nursemaid me through these purchases, Philip. But yeah, well, it's interesting because I was trying to think of a topic for this week, as I often do at the last minute. And
you're currently thinking,
how can I make it about chips?
No, I'm not looking around the room as I talk.
We're just going to read aloud from the Star Trek Next Generation Technical Manual. So.
Until something sparks something interesting.
No, I did see someone who put the Bernie Sanders meme into the Star Trek Technical Manual. He's like right on the cover because I guess they're putting him.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's crazy. It took like a day and it's like everywhere. But no, it was interesting. As we have been talking about, Discovery and, just the pace of the story, it actually made me start thinking of, just a lot of like the two-parters that we have in Star Trek, like the mini arcs, basically what we did before we had season-long spanning Spock shuttle chasing, into the nebula running, stories. And, while, especially since Discovery, especially in this last season, I don't know, but we kind of talked about it. It was kind of, like done. Like, they ended and we're like, is that the end of the show? Like, are they good? But no, I was kind of just leaning towards, what are kind of mini arcs that we enjoyed the most in, the macrocosm of Star. Heck, you could technically say Star Trek 234 is a mini arc, as it, tells that concise story of Admiral Kirk and the Enterprise crew. Or, I think of, when we brought Worf on, in DS9, so there's been lots of, introducing Galron, introducing characters. So I hope we get kind of more of that as Trek continues, because as much as weaving characters in to the story, it works, but there's something to be said for, okay, we're going to take a pause and we're going to, focus on these 3 episodes to like bring in a new character or to bring in a, some pivotal, moment. Now it doesn't, one of my favorites, two-parters is In a Mirror Darkly, which is so like off the reservation because that doesn't introduce anything we use ever again. We never touch it ever again.
You say that,
but
I watched 2 episodes of Discovery in this last season.
It is.
That's true.
It is also when we discover that Captain Archer becomes president. We don't know that canonically otherwise. So,
well, you're right. I was thinking about the fact that, I was forgetting the fact that Enterprise was the end, so there was nothing after it, and now we have stuff after it, so we can actually reference Enterprise. It just took 20 more years or something it took a long road.
Well, like I think, and this isn't an original thought by any means, but Deep Space Nine is sort of the king or queen of mini arcs, because I think
a lot of those
every other series doesn't. Because even the series arc, like say Voyager, of course, which I like Voyager, but like the whole, we're lost and we're like, yes, that's what it's all about, but like the pull of that arc or purpose, those are 2 different things, wasn't really that strong. So we found a wormhole, but even those episodes, or at least, if we look at this episode, some of them are probably good, but we all think of like, oh, this is the episode where Voyager almost finds a way to go home. We know they're not going to do it, and then
what?
And then
I'm
we would
shocked.
even argue, I think, that even the last episode, which is all about finally getting home, we're kind of like, meh. So, I mean, I think the only way that whole long arc pays off the best for me, for Voyager, is kind of in that timeline where they have communications with the Alpha Quadrant. Because then you kind of get, the Barclay stuff, and we have a way to contact Starfleet, and we every now and then get messages. That whole effort, I think that was interesting stuff. Message in a bottle from, past that was interesting.
That striked something in me because I think that Endgame, right? That's what it's called. Not Avengers Endgame, which is fantastic. But
that's what I thought you were
no, Voyager Endgame, right?
Okay, yes, the finale. Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting. I hadn't considered before, but like Endgame to me feels rushed and cheap. Like real cheap. Like you would think with 7, like you're talking about, Philip.
With 26 episodes, they could round out season 7 a little smoother if they wanted
it's not
to.
even just 26 episodes in the final season. Like it's wrapping up the whole series. So with 7 years,
right?
Voyager definitely it's a trade-off, right? Whether you're doing long form or shorter form storytelling, and Voyager heavily leans into shorter form storytelling, episodic storytelling, and and a lot of people like that. A lot of people really appreciate that about Voyager, but it's at the expense of something like Endgame, where they're like, okay, well, we haven't spent 7 years setting anything up, so now we just have to magically get home in the last episode. And so it's like kind of...
And the Borg are there, because Voyager, Borg, let's do that.
And so, it's like, it's kind of the opposite of... Well, it's tough to say, but like something like Discovery... In some ways, but it has similarities where it's like it still feels rushed. Everything's crazy. I don't know what's going on. Why is there an old Janeway and the Borg Queen? And I don't know what's going on. Now they're home.
Right, that's true.
It's just like
there's time travel involved. It's like they technically get home twice. I mean, that's how much they tell the story. They're like, oh, well, yeah, we already got home, but now let's do it. Let's try that test again, guys. We can do better this time. We'll get a better score.
Because I mean, you look at the DS9, and again, repeating. So DS9, which had, I mean, you could argue like the whole season, but like, what was it, like 4 episodes or 5 episodes were kind of like the finale.
That's like 10 episodes. Like actually, you look on Memory Alpha, it like lists like part 1 of 10, like the last 9-10 episodes. It considers like the finale, really, and it kind of is. Like, there's not really any standout like singles in there.
I think like with Voyager, you had, and again, I'm not picking. I like the series I'm picking, but like you have like it just seemed like a lot of stuff outside of Endgame. Like, I don't know, Lieutenant Carey dies. I'm like, what did you? Why? Why would you do that? And they're like, Neelix leaves, and I'm like, well, why? I mean, like, it just, and I'm not saying that's a bad reason or was it a bad episode, but like, it's kind of like, why would you? He doesn't make it to the end. Like, he was right there on the like 2-yard line, and you're like, nah, he doesn't make it.
It's like, wait, guys, are we actually going to take Neelix all the way home? No, you're right. Let's leave him off at this last. They saw the last rest stop, last plot point for 40,000 light years.
It says, "Get your gas and your food here." Before the Alpha Quadrant. This is the last stop.
Last rest stop for 40,000 light years.
Now that you think about it, no Delta Quadrant native made it back home with Voyager.
But you mean back to? No Delta Quadrant.
Native.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Native.
Made it to the Alpha Quadrant.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they only had 2.
Well, yeah, I know. So, and they got rid of both of
them. Well, and I mean, because you could. I mean, I was going to say 7, but she obviously he was a native. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, they didn't really add a lot of people to their crew. Like, I mean, they kind of did.
Kids,
I know we got the Borg children. And you had
Picard
Kes,
talked about
and him. That's true. But
that's true.
Since we're talking,
I do have to correct myself.
Go ahead.
Icheb, where's he? What's his native species? Is he a Delta Quadrant species? I guess technically Icheb did make it home.
Yeah.
He has to be, right? I don't know what he is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. Because we visit his home planet.
So Icheb was the one person.
It's a sacrifice where they sacrifice him to the Borg or something.
I just pulled up Memory Alpha, and the picture the picture of Icheb now is from his torture scene.
Oh my gosh!
Just shocked about that.
Sans eye Icheb. Jeez.
Yeah, he's a Brunel.
Does it just say Cheb now since he lost the eye, or?
Oh, that's not the episode title, Philip. That is not the episode title. I'm gonna come up with something else.
Hey, you know what? I forgot that Icheb's father was played by the guy who plays the reporter the lawyer in Battlestar Galactica.
Okay, yeah. Shepard, Morgan. I can't remember the dad or the son, but anyway.
Yeah. But anyways, since we're talking about this across the shows, I mean, obviously, and you guys have both touched on it a little bit, but obviously Deep Space Nine handles this better than any other Star Trek because it.
Yeah, they really.
I mean,
do.
It's not even close, but in terms of long form storytelling, because like you said, Darren, it takes them 10 episodes because they have 42,000 different characters, and
right.
And
it's an ensemble show, Daniel, if you didn't know.
And we get like actual development for all the characters. It's not like Voyager, who had, 8 principal characters and 3 of them were left behind. It's not even like Discovery, where we have 27 people on the bridge and we only know 2 of their names. Deep Space Nine had probably 25, 30 characters, and they all have their own arcs. They all have their own development. Like Morn has an episode. Like it's astounding how well written that show is, comparatively speaking. If we're in terms of long and short form storytelling. So
and the way they, like you said, I mean, they wrap up their arcs, but in a lot of ways unexpectedly. Like Kira, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where it changes to, you're now a Starfleet officer, so you don't have to technically be from Bajor for this mission we're sending you on, and then you're going to help Damar become the new, resistance leader. And it's like, tell me season 1 Kira would have balked if you told her that's what was going to happen in her story. It's like but it's great. It's very satisfying. And, she's obviously she comes back to DS9 and she's, running the station. But yeah, you have, I think, very satisfying, even with the loss, in quotes, of Cisco, which is, I mean, that's like,
computer, list him as missing.
But yeah, I mean, how would we feel if like Picard was, missing at the end of, Star Trek, The Next Generation? I don't know. It's something about, like you said, the writing in that series was so well executed, especially at the end. And it's, how do you land that plane? It's difficult, or that runabout, as it were.
Well, especially if you compare it to like, go ahead, Phil.
No, and I was going to get too much on a tangent. I'll just say briefly, so bookmark, make sure I don't get you off the topic. It just made me wonder how the Voyager documentary is going to go because, again, I have to keep saying this, but the only reason I say this is because like Deep Space Nine documentary is like, oh, we all love the show, we love the show. Voyager had some moments that people might not have loved, and then whether it's the audience or the cast, like it was not a love fest whole so yeah, I wonder if the Deep Space documentary if the Voyager documentary is going to be sort of like, you have DS9 documentary on this side, you have the TNG documentary on this side,
chaos on the bridge,
so you have like Voyager kind of in the middle, like what I'm saying.
I don't know,
you can't be a happy like DS9 because
it seems like we've had pictures. I don't know. I mean, I get the feeling that, at least from the pictures and interviews and stuff I've seen, like it seems like if there was any sort of hatchet that was there has been kind of buried. They're on stage with each other at Star Trek events. Like I don't think there's any animosity still there, but I don't
mean, like,
know.
in other words, you can't not, well, they could. I mean, like, you can't not talk about it, but I suppose you can not talk about it, but, like, you're just going to say, like, Mulgrew wasn't, like, a B to Jerry Ryan, for 2 years,
Yeah, I was going to say, I do feel like it's certain, like, the TNG cast are all best friends. Like, everybody loves everybody there.
They're in each other's weddings. They're all married to each
DS9
other.
have impregnated each other.
Yeah.
So,
Well, only 2 of them. But
this is your fault.
Deep Space Nine, like, I mean, you get the sense that they all respected each other, but I don't, and probably...
And they're happy with their accomplishment of what they did in that show.
Whereas Voyager seems like, there was a lot of... It seems from the outside in, like, a lot more drama.
Like,
a lot more
what's the
stuff
Beltran interview going to be like on that,
Well, you know what, either of you listened to the Voyager podcast that Robbie and Garrett are doing? So it's okay. Honestly, it's a little dull, but I just listened to it.
Is it like an episodic one where they're just going through all the episodes? Okay.
It's funny. They have a segment called "What Do We Remember?" and it's
I was gonna say
almost always not much, not much at all. So, anyways,
which is the point of that kind of a show, is like you want the inside scoop, and they're like, yeah, I don't even remember filming this episode. It's like, great,
so hammered.
See you next week.
So they had Robert Beltran on, and I was expecting a little more spice from him, a little more kick. He was real nice, and he definitely complained about a few things, but he wasn't like you kind of get the sense that he hated it, and maybe he doesn't hate it.
Maybe he's kind of moved on, and it's not worth carrying that hate.
I think he got the short end of the stick, and he's probably, like you say, he probably let go of some of that resentment, but like he did. I mean, he was probably excited about the job and thought he was going to do neat things.
Yeah, I just always got the sense like half of his complaining was like a shtick. Like, I'm just pretending to hate everything. I mean, it was like his weird sense of humor, though I think half of it was real.
Well, and I feel like we talked about this before. Did we know? I mean, because we all have heard that, when they were starting the show, they were kind of like, if this isn't working, we're going to switch to a male-led crew. Was that going to be him, though? Or was that going to be a totally different actor? Do we know that? Is that somewhere in the archives of knowledge?
That's the craziest thing. I've heard somebody in an interview mention that before, but like to have an actual backup plan, to be that scared of having a female captain is it's crazy. And you would think and hope. Well,
I mean, it's ridiculous. You look at like how many times they had to reshoot things because they changed her hair because they just kept fussing with it. And it's like, stop, just let her be. And then we get an amazing. I am
curious, and sorry, Daniel. Like I said, I know. I hope you bookmarked your DS9 point. But like, I am interested in the Genevieve casting. I mean, we've seen it, but like, why did you even cast her then? Because like, even on the test footage, like, she's not great. I mean, like, what show me the audition where you're like, Star Trek captain. That one.
I mean, nothing against her, but like Rachel Garrett is a better presence in her one episode of Yesterday's Enterprise than what we've seen of Genevieve.
You know what I always thought was a missed opportunity to once I found out that they had all that footage was why didn't they at the time make, and I'm sure there's a reason because she left for a reason, but why not make like an interesting episode, kind of like what they did with
kind of like an alternate timeline thing?
What did they what's the episode, the Menagerie, like they did with Menagerie, and you could like splice this old footage in there, and that would be neat. You could do something fun with that, I think. But
sometimes I wished I never captained this ship into the Badlands. Whoa, woo, woo, woo. But she still has the same name. Because wasn't it still Janeway?
Yeah, it was Janeway. Yep.
When it was her?
You could do like this. It's a Wonderful Life with Captain Janeway, and then like when you just show like a picture of the other captain
during the Millennium Gate when she's flashbacking. It's all just connected all. Oh man, no, that's an awesome idea. I mean, yeah, we can all list a million reasons why they wouldn't do that, but. That could be interesting.
Now that I think about it, and I assume the actress just doesn't want anything to do with it, which is understandable. If they had cast her as Captain Ransom for Equinox,
oh my gosh!
Or
you know what? Actually,
It's like the double,
cool.
Because it's supposed to be like
that would be cool. Yeah.
And then all the like super nerds are like, oh, like that's cool. Like that was the original actress who was going to be Janeway, and that would have that's a good idea, Philip. 10 points for Philip.
But better yet, they could have cast her as the faux Janeway with the giant combat.
Live like
oh
live
my
long
gosh,
or live whatever.
Oh my gosh, that's a little on the nose. Where I'm gonna pretend to be you, but a crappy version.
So many in jokes. I don't even sound like that. I have way more personality. You're so deadpan.
Get off my bridge. You don't belong here. I need to watch that episode again. That was the other thing. I think. I don't know. Maybe it's just the different type, but like you're talking about the arcs of DS9, Daniel, and stuff like that. I think they also just handled humor really well. Like even in the war, like when you still have humor that comes throughout and moments that you can smile about. So I actually, one thing I have been listening to is Mission Log with Norm and John. You the one who's still there? Gosh, I feel dumb now. I don't remember their names, but they've been going through DS9, and they just went through the episode where
Enter Arnhem Segas Lagus.
No,
Pontius the Fourth.
Is the one where like Jake is trying to bid on a baseball card for his dad, and then they end up doing like
the
a
self-stealing symbol.
And I always,
yeah.
No, this is actually. Is that the self-stealing symbol?
I thought it was, yeah. But I guess
there's two, because there's also the one with the desk, where like they rent the desk out to someone else, and it's like that one's the Great River. I think that's the
maybe
the desk one.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's right, John Champion. But anyway, they were talking about it and about just I like their deep dives when they're talking about like money and Star Trek. Like it's again something that we've always skirted around, especially also in Discovery. It's just like obviously there's economy going on and commerce, but all that to say, it's fun listening to them talk about Deep Space Nine, and it just delve into the depths of that show, because I think like we've said many times, like the writing has just always been just amazing. I'm not quite sure where my point is. I feel like lost it through the wormhole. But that's all right.
I mean, and I just wanted to talk about, Enterprise, again, another one where the premise, well, and I don't know if it was ever explicitly stated or whether we just implied that the premise was building the Federation. But it's one of those things, and I don't know if I can ever fault a show for doing it, of slow pacing. We're going to build the Federation, it's going to be the 7-year arc. Like, I don't think they had that plan, but like,
right. Sometimes
you're like, you never know how many years you're going to have, buddy. So you need to kind of put your gas in the pedal there, But
you also have the point though that, like, to their credit, the 3 seasons leading up to Enterprise all had 7 seasons, so it kind of. I could see like going into it thinking like we'll probably have a pretty good deal.
Now, here's the thing about Enterprise too, and I like Enterprise. Enterprise is actually one of my favorites, but it's like I totally get it. Like, I like the slower pace of the first 2 seasons. I do wish they did a little more with it, but like you say, Darren, I'm sure these people absolutely thought that they had 7 years to go. And so,
or at least 5 or 6, like to be cut off at 4 is criminal.
Yeah.
But
so it would have been, and of all the series, Enterprise handled its long form storytelling the most inconsistently, because it, like, overall there's a big arc, obviously, and it follows the flow of time, but it's like the later half is much more heavily serialized than the first 2 seasons are.
Well, and it's interesting what you said, Philip. Like, I almost even wonder what was their milestone. Like, where are they planning on landing the show? Because I never got the feeling until like the last season that they're like, oh yeah, Enterprise was always about like by the end we're going to be signing that charter for the Federation. It's like, oh, it felt really open ended. Like, this is the story of the Enterprise and here's an adventure this week. Like, it never felt to me like that was where they were going.
And I don't even remember the second season arc, if they're even, because first season maybe it was the same thing. It was always temporal Cold War, not all the time, but like as much as we complain about Discovery and stuff, like that was kind of left field and non-canon and never landed. And then we took the third season to do the whole Xindi thing again, which is outside the canon. I mean, I'm not saying that in real life. I'm just saying, right. When you're watching it, like, I never heard of the Xindi before. And so it's like one of the things, the third season just takes, we're not talking about finding the Federation. We're going to go fight a war for a year. And I don't mean to downplay it or anything, but I'm just saying it doesn't follow, that big arc.
Right.
And so, and it's the fourth season was kind of like, it's going to be nothing but, so.
Fan service and getting to the finish line. And we got some great episodes in the fourth season. Like, they finally kind of realized, like, oh, hey, we can actually set up a lot of stuff that's going to play out in later Trek. Like a lot of the Vulcan
we can
episodes.
Do three-parters after three-parters after two-parters.
Ooh.
This is again, and I just want to point this out. This is the folly of doing prequels. It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous to do it. It's much trickier than you think it is. Once you start throwing stuff in there that nobody's ever heard of before, you run the risk of alienating your previous fan base, and it's tough, especially with no plan. It's open ended. Is this going to run for 7 years or 4? Are we going to get to the Romulan War or not? Like, what is going on? So it's just like, it's just, and then now we've done it 3 times in Star Trek, and it's like, stop doing prequels, man. Just do something else. Just do something. And it's gotten so bad they started with a prequel, and now we're doing a pre-sequel series. But
pre-sequel,
a pre-sequel, yes.
Is that a squeakle?
You're not wrong. Well, and it's like you can do a prequel if you know this is exactly the amount of time I have to tell this story, and this is the story I want to tell. But like open-end television, that's super risky.
And this is off top of your head, so if you don't have an answer, it's fine. How many prequels have been really good?
Successful? I was actually
really
to think
good.
That, like, in general.
Because, like, for instance,
are you talking about worked?
I mean, like, for instance, this is your area, not mine, I know. Solo was fine, but I not a big, huge reception about it being great, or needed, I suppose. Whereas Rogue One seemed to have a lot of good things about that, and that's a prequel, right? I mean, technically-ish. And then the thing I've never figured out is why the second Indiana Jones movie is a prequel to the first, but it is. So.
But it's the worst one.
Kingdom of Skulls, Daniel? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I didn't count that one.
I'm actually assuming the only reason that Temple of Doom is a prequel is because they had to explain why he wasn't with Marion. But I don't know.
I think there's been like television shows at this point that have been like prequel. Like, isn't the Hannibal show supposed to be real good? Like that sort of stuff. But
and now they're doing a Clarice show. Of course, I guess that's a sequel, not a prequel.
Oh, is it? I don't know. But in terms of sci-fi prequels,
and wait, wasn't Ocean's 8 a prequel to 11? Isn't that how that works?
I think it's a different universe.
I'm just kidding.
I can't think of a prequel that's worked. Darren, can you think of 1, 2, or possibly 3 prequels that have or have not worked?
Well, in defense of the Star Wars prequels, which I know you're alluding to, I think after time, I think it's interesting. Like, I feel like the animated Clone Wars did a great job in establishing that world a lot more. So maybe it's the format.
But here's the thing. Okay, so this is where it gets messy, and this is why if we're talking about Star Wars,
it is messy.
But like when the animated show came out, and all that other, like the Clone Wars and all that stuff came out, that was no longer a prequel, Philip. That was a middlequel. That was filling in gaps from stuff that we've already known. Now we've already seen before. We've seen after. This is the middle part. Here's an example of
Star Wars is so big that you're filling in the gaps.
Exactly.
Now. It's we're past prequel sequel. It's like what years have we not talked about?
Here is a prequel that did work. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And I'll tell you why it worked. Because it was thousands
way the
of years before. And you didn't have to deal with anything that came afterwards. Nothing. It has no impact, in fact. It could have just been like a what if story or a separate universe that just kind of resembled the Star Wars universe. That's why it works. If you set something right before something you've already known, you're just setting yourself up for failure.
So here's a technical nerd question. Because of Discovery Season 3 and now Season 4, doesn't that mean that any Star Trek that happens after Picard time is now technically a prequel?
No, I don't think so. I'm just going to say no because I don't like that idea. But
so I was having to actually search because I'm like, what are good prequels? X-Men First Class.
Yeah,
is kind of
movie in the world. I enjoyed it.
To be fair, just to be clear, the X-Men cinematic universe is sloppy as hell. It is sloppy, and it's all over the place. And just because one of the movies turned out good or decent does not make it does not mean that prequels are merited. That's all I'm trying to say.
Now, technically,
true.
I mean, even
go ahead.
Sorry. Technically, even though it's a different universe, technically, isn't 2009 a prequel?
I think it's more of an alternate universe tale than it is a prequel.
Well, Star Trek's kind of wibbly wobbly.
Star Trek is
all
sloppy
over the
too.
place,
Star Trek definitely is sloppy as well.
It is.
Yes.
And that just happens as your franchise gets bigger and longer. I mean, I don't think they even slap prequels on anything Doctor Who because it's like always.
Here's the brilliant thing about 2000. Yeah. Here's the brilliant thing about 2009 is they sidestep all the tricky stuff by making it an alternate universe.
Yes,
just like Knights of the Old Republic was a smart move.
They blow up Vulcan. That's the only way that works as an alternate timeline. Otherwise, every nerd is going to be like, you can't do that.
Yeah. So there's ways around it. You can make interesting stories like that, but
now I'm just picturing Vulcan blowing up, and somewhere there's like a picture of Picard like visiting Sarek, and like he starts to fade away, like Back to the Future style. Well, another good prequel I think that worked was Monsters University as a prequel to Monsters Inc.
Okay.
Very focused in its scope. Like it's about two characters. It's not about like the creation of the monster world or something like that. Oh, look, Star Trek 2009's listed.
Yeah,
I mean, a pup named Scooby-Doo was actually pretty good.
Think that's your point.
So.
Oh, gosh. But prequels overall are just, whether it's story arcs or prequels, it, like you said, Daniel, they're so tricky to write because you're either completely bound to canon and you're like, what you have to tell either a super narrow story, and that's a good point though. Is like, why does Rogue One work more as a prequel than the difficulties that the episode 1, 2, and 3 did?
Again, y'all will say it more. And spoilers, I suppose, for Rogue One. It's because everyone dies. And so you're not like any troublesome about what happened to these characters.
That's true. Why don't we ever see K2 still around? Well,
it's basically like,
died,
we're going to have a story.
So.
It doesn't matter because they all died. I mean, it matters because of the thing, but.
Yeah, I was just thinking, actually, like, again, Star Wars is sloppy, but like, I don't think of Rogue One as a prequel like I do Solo.
It's a prelude.
And Solo,
of anything.
like Solo to me was bad, where Rogue One was decent. And I'm like, maybe my frustrations with Solo, maybe we didn't know any of the characters. It's a completely self-contained story, and it only has one element that relates to anything that we know of. And it's like, so it's very minimal in scope to how it can affect your perception of that universe. So maybe that's what it is. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Or the fact that the plot of Rogue One is the opening title crawl of the Star Wars. You know, it's already been established.
And of course, you say this, and then you'll think of exceptions. But I think the instinct to make prequels based on characters versus story is, I think, where the failures come. Like, you all love this character. Let's see
so a prequel based off an event versus like a character.
It's like, what was this character like when they were young? And like, well, we know the growth. We know the the story of Rogue One. Okay, so other characters, you know the story though. It's not like, oh, we're doing a young Picard series. Like, well, I mean, we don't want to, you know.
Guys, today's the day he's gonna get stabbed in the heart. I've been wanting to watch that.
Will he die in this episode? No, he won't.
Well, and it's like, and like they tried to do that with Solo, meaning like we see the Kessel Run, but like you said, it wasn't really about that event. It was about what is Han Solo like as a young lad, and that is harder to do. I think, well, and I mean, we can all see the writing on the wall. Eventually, we're going to have a Fast and the Furious prequel, and we're going to have, like, that franchise is never going to die. But, it's tricky, though. Especially for serialized television, though, prequels are dangerous.
And I go, this is nerdy stuff. So for Strange New Worlds, is it technically a prequel or technically a sister series to the original series? I mean, I know it's probably technically going to happen like 3 years before TOS, but it's so close in time that it's negligible, that it's just a parallel series.
Right. That's true. I feel it. And that's a good point. Like, as long as they stick with, it's basically like Star Trek Continues. It's like the same types of stories that we would get in TOS, just a different crew.
Yeah, that's not going to.
So, like, I mean, Strange New Worlds, and I don't know how they're thinking of. I mean, because you can never predict how long anything will last. You know, you do a season.
Maybe the Enterprise gets destroyed this episode.
It'll get refit. But does the series end with CGI Shatner or Kirk taking command? You know.
Ooh.
See, this is one of the reasons why
Daniel really wants to answer that question.
I don't want them to answer the question. I don't like. I'm excited for Strange New Worlds and the fact that the idea of it and what they're promising for it is.
And Pike is
a good character. Like, there's a lot like that I would want to see. I don't want that series. I don't want it. I would never say, yes, let's do a series 3 years before TOS. Because now it's just sloppy.
And then, like, MASH it lasts 7 years.
Stardates are a weird thing, you know.
Well, they're going to have to I guarantee you they're going to start. They already recasted Spock. If you don't just stop with Spock, of course, you know, Scotty's going to be there at some point, and you know, Uhura's going to show up and get transferred.
So like they have a layover. That's true.
By the end, Gary Mitchell could be on the show. That's actually kind of a really neat idea. But they're going to have the crew by the end of the show, and then it's just going to be like the last episode is going to be like, oh, you know, the new captain's coming on.
TOS Mark II. Just keep it going. Why stop? By that point, if you've replaced the entire crew with new actors playing the same characters, why stop the show? Now it's basically TOS
2.0,
the extra adventures.
Year zero.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, that's a good one.
Zero.
Is it
Stardate
The
Zero.
Young Adventures of Indiana Jones? Is that what it was called?
Yes.
That was pretty good,
yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I haven't seen much of it, but from what I've heard, and that did the style of you had someone playing an old Indy, like near the end of his life, regaling you with this story, and then they'd cut back to, you know, the adventure, and you know, it was trying to be educational.
Dr.
About
Jones,
history,
can you tell me about the alien? You don't want to hear the
purpose.
alien ones, kid.
No, what you want to hear about is the signing of the peace treaty of 1936.
What about the one at the temple? No, we don't talk about that one either, kid.
No, we don't talk about that. No, what we want to talk about is
when I was younger.
Is the Geneva Convention. It was really interesting. No, that's a good point. Yeah, that I hadn't thought of Indiana Jones, Young Indiana Jones. I feel like did that have the word Chronicles in it? Was that the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles?
That,
yeah. Feels like Lucasfilm keeps trying to make Chronicles happen, so it's
no more prequels, guys. Seriously, Star Trek, Paramount, listen, no more prequels, no more. And I'll give the caveat of what Philip mentioned before.
Well, when you're head of CBS, Daniel, you can do whatever you want.
No more prequels. Nothing that takes place in TOS era. Nothing that takes place in TNG era. Actually, that's actually a really interesting idea for an episode, guys. We should do that, where they try to insert some show canonically inside the TNG era, and where would they put it? Who would?
And there's a lot going on in that era.
Yeah.
That's
Should we
like
call it Deep Space
TNG,
Nine,
DS9, and Voyager.
They could go to Deep Space Nine, Philip.
You mean Terok Nor?
Yeah.
Well, it depends how the
I've always argued. I mean, and I know whatever. If you really want to make a prequel and you really do, we do have this huge gap of 75 years that you can fill in, like between Star Trek 6 and Star Trek: The Next Generation. There's when we have Enterprise B's and C's and all this stuff, it's just like 70 years of nothing.
Yeah, but like Daniel said, like you're going to start with, we're going to tell the story of the Enterprise B, and then they're just going to be like, dang it, we wrote ourselves into this stupid corner because we can't do anything. We're going to go off to the Beta Quadrant or something and chart gaseous anomalies. At least the ambassador class, you would assume, have some sort of ambassadorship going on. But yeah, man, that's kind of the short stick for Harriman. You're like, you're the flagship of the Federation. Now go over there and catalog those anomalies.
He's got to have a tailpipe. But that's where you could do a Xindi Wars. Like, we've never heard of it. Well, yeah, it's because it happened 60 years ago. We don't talk about it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes more sense.
Maybe more like a mini-series. Like, here's a 10-episode snapshot of the Xindi War. Or the Romulan War. Or any war, pretty much.
We just don't have to do a war. I'm just throwing that out there.
I mean, well, like in Discovery, there was some sort of end of the temporal Cold War, and now we can't time travel anymore. So that's good to know.
But we'll never know never know anything interesting or any facts about it. They'll never dive into what exactly happened, or it's just
now, they won't. But if they change Section 31 show into a temporal, what's the name of the even ship? Time ship, whatever the thing's called.
Relativity?
Time trip relativity.
That's interesting to do, sort of.
Then it goes all Carmen Sandiego looking for Giorgio. She gets spread throughout time.
You could do an anthology series with that, because you could go into what I just talked about, the time period we never talk about. You could do obviously, you can do it any time between TOS and Discovery.
Like, the fact that they're not doing an animated anthology series right now, it's like, why not? Like, being able to do voice acting for all these characters, and that'd be
because
great.
It's better if we can tell fart jokes in animation. That's better.
And cuss. Well, I was thinking more Discovery, but yeah. But yeah, so this is interesting though, looking at the makeup of how we see these stories, whether they're prequels, whether they're sequels, whether they're little mini arcs or larger arcs. And yeah, that's a good question. Like what's Progeny gonna be like? How's that story gonna unfold?
I will say I'm interested, definitely mostly on the Janeway aspect of it. And obviously it's going to be aimed at probably a younger audience than normal, but like we just talked about, Young Indiana Jones, and that has a big following and people like that show. And it's like, do something like that. That'd be fun. And Janeway can be a science teacher, or she can be like Miss Frizzle, but Miss Nacelle, I guess.
It does make me wonder what. And again, I'm looking forward to it, but it does make me wonder what the arc of Strange New Worlds is going to be. I mean, it can't be. We're exploring the universe, right? I mean, that's what it is. But could there be a season-long arc? There's a big baddie who's gonna blow up the universe, which we know doesn't happen. I don't know.
That's true. What's the antagonist? We have some snippets from the crew sheets, but it's still too early to tell at this point. All right. Well, Philip, if someone wanted to find you and talk to you about the 8-part Ferengi arc in the middle of DS9 and your love for it, where would they find you?
They can find my magnificent Twitter handle at INC Public Servant.
And Daniel, if someone wanted to pitch their plethora of prequel platitudes to you, where'd they find you?
They can find me on Twitter. My handle there is at -1UpDan, because -1 is a proper amount of prequels that you should be making right now. Please stop making prequels. Oh God, please stop making them.
Is your handle a equation, Daniel? And if someone wanted to find me, they could look on drsci-fi.com, DRSCIFI. Well, I'm Darren Moser.
I'm Philip Gelfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
Stranded here with formulas on City Alpha 3.